In this second video of our Father's Day Applique project, let's load the digitized design we set up in the first video into our Happy Embroidery machine and see how the machine neatly follows with each stage of the applique sew-out. To set up our applique project, in the control panel of our Happy machine, we load it onto a USB stick in DST format by going to our main menu and reading, and look for the design. In this case, this is our project for Father's Day Applique. The machine will tell you when it's done. To continue, we'll go to the home screen, and first we'll go ahead and set its color since it's asking us to, and we do that by looking at the thread cones here and pressing the button next to it, and it shows us that we have 4 sections. First section being the outline stitch or the placement stitch, the second one being the tack down stitch for the outside, and since this is a 2-layer applique, the second layer will be the placement stitch for the inner layer, and then finally the tack down stitch for that. So we'll go ahead and set the colors first. The first layer is white, so we'll set white thread. That will be our needle number 1, and also white thread for our tack down stitch. But since we want the machine to pause after sewing the placement stitch, we can press either stop, or what's even nicer is the frame out command, which will cause that icon to appear, which means that the machine will not only stop but also move the hoop towards the operator to make it easy to place the shape. You'll see that when we actually sew that out. Let's do the same for the next section. First, setting the color for the placement stitch. In this case, this will be red, but we will also set a frame out command too, since it needs to stop after finishing sewing the tack down stitch for the first layer, and we also needed to stop there. And then, so let's go ahead and set the color for the placement stitch, which will be red, and then the color for the tack down stitch, which will also be red. Finally, let's move this up a little bit towards the collar, so you can see that in the placement screen we can actually use the arrow keys to move this either up or down, and we can even move it a little bit faster if we want to, like this, until we're satisfied that it's in the right place. Once we're satisfied, simply hit home. With our applique project set up now, all we have to do is hit start to allow the machine to sew the first placement stitch. And now the frame out command, and see how it presents the hoop out towards you to place the shape. Here we have our 2-layer pre-cut shapes for our applique project. And to prepare them for applique process, we'll apply a little bit of spray adhesive, which will temporarily hold these in the area on the garment that's marked by the placement stitch. Some embroidery adhesive. Always lay a light coating, spray 8 to 10 inches away, and always do this away from your embroidery machine. And let that become a little bit sticky by letting it sit for several seconds. Now that the placement stitch has been sewn, we can align our shape, our first shape, to the placement stitch. Once ready, all we have to do is press start, and see how neatly the machine goes right back to its original place and begins sewing the tack down stitch. Next, after the tack down stitch, the machine sews the placement stitch for the second layer, which you can see it doing now. Once again, on finishing the placement stitch, the machine does a frame out so that we can now easily place the second layer, aligning it with the second placement stitch. Simply hit start to allow it to sew the final tack down stitch on the second layer.